I'm Gab, he's Jules. Grey skies over West London, but not grey skies in our heart because we're excited. The Champions League is back midweek. And before that, we had quite a few twists and turns this weekend. Bayern München, congratulations, champions of Germany, 12th time in 13 years. Who's laughing at company now? A scare for Barcelona. Napoli take a giant step towards the Premier League, towards the Serie A title. Maybe they'll win the Premier League one day. But Jules, we're going to start here in the Premier League. A few miles away from here.
Yeah.
Chelsea taking on the champions, Liverpool. It's a 3-1 win. Kind of overshadowed by this news that many of us thought would happen. And now we heard it straight from the horse's mouth, or from the Trent's mouth anyway. Trent Alexander-Arnold joining Real Madrid.
Yeah, leaving the club after 20 years. He arrived as a young boy in the academy, went through the ranks, and then obviously to the first team, won everything that he could have won, basically. And now he's leaving as a free agent. I don't know how Liverpool fans would feel. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. Some of them still wanted to believe that maybe there was a chance that he could stay. But now he's going to meet his very good friend Jude Bellingham in Madrid. And I guess that's what Real Madrid wanted. They wanted a right back. Let's see now how he does over there.
I was one of those who believed that he might stay. I knew there was a small chance. And I think there are big implications as well for the next Real Madrid manager, whether it's Xabi Alonso or somebody else. We're going to break that down a little bit further later on. But turning to the game, people looked at Chelsea's remaining schedule and they said, champions Liverpool. Manchester United. Okay, don't laugh. Newcastle. And Forest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they necessarily needed to win all of them, but they took a big step forward in winning this one.
Yeah. It was a huge win. They had to, really. It makes a massive difference when Romeo Lavia is playing and is fit and plays, because he makes this team better. He makes people around him maybe play in their best position, which is not the case when he's not there. So we saw a very good Cole Palmer and Enzo and Caicedo and Lavia, and that makes a massive difference, obviously, against a team that was obviously still celebrating the title with the mixed teams of starters and subs, really, which I think helped Chelsea. But in the end, I think they deserved to win, and it was a good performance from them.
Well, it's funny because we saw Harvey Elliott and Wataru Endo both start in midfield. Now, when I did my keep and dump for Liverpool with Mark Ogden, don't want to give any secrets away, but yeah, I will give you a little spoiler. We both think Endo should probably move on. He wanted to get rid of Elliott, and I wanted to keep Elliott because, I love Harvey Elliott.
Yeah.
But he said it's because, Slot doesn't like him. And then you look at the number of games that Elliott's played this season. And yeah, he hasn't started a single Premier League game, but because there's 4 central midfielders who are probably better than him in that position. I like to think of this as a bit of a reward for Endo and Elliott. Doesn't mean Endo's necessarily going to stay. And, if they get the right guy in, I wouldn't stay either if I were Endo. But I thought there is room for Elliott. Am I completely wrong?
Room as a squad player, but I don't think he wants to be a squad player. But he can't start for Liverpool. He's not good enough to start for Liverpool. But he could be a good squad player. It's just, I'm not sure that's maybe what he wants at his age. He probably wants to play more than. I know he will win the Premier League title this season, but he hasn't. He can't be happy with his game time this season.
He played a lot under Klopp last year. Whatever. I'm a romantic. I'm holding out hope. Turning to Chelsea, I agree with you. Obviously, when Lavia is there and plays like this. Lavia, by the way, even the few times he's been fit, has not always played like this. And I don't think it's necessarily easy when you go like 4 months without playing, then you pop up, and then you disappear again. For me, in this game, I thought Palmer's performed. People have focused on Palmer's lack of goals, but it's not just a lack of goals. Palmer's performances had also dipped.
Yeah.
This was one where I thought he looked really good, and we can debate Liverpool, hungover, demotivated. In the end, Manesca said something that I've said, many people said, this team, the way it's constructed right now, needs Palmer and Nico Jackson.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
absolutely.
it just won't work.
Yeah, although to be fair, when Lavia plays, that I think puts Enzo in the best environment for him to do well. And as we saw on the goal, I don't think this is a goal that maybe he scores if Lavia is not on the pitch, because he plays higher up, and which is the best position for him. But yeah, Palmer especially, maybe even more than Nico, is so crucial to this team.
All right, sticking with Chelsea a little bit, I don't necessarily want to put the boot in more than we already have about the way this team is constructed. Because when you've got a Palmer like that and you have Lavia on the pitch, you can you can beat anybody, right? Because there's enough strength to the back. But equally, to me, this just serves as a reminder of those points that they dropped while Palmer had their dip, while they were in those situations. And I've been to these games when all they do is look for Palmer because maybe either Nico's not there, it's Nkunku, or the wingers are stinking it up. When you look ahead, and they may have major PSR issues, they may have major issues with financial sustainability rules in general, with UEFA's rules as well, but it seems to me that there is actually so much to do for all their assemblage of talent. And when I see Moises Caicedo in a key game playing right back, when, out of necessity or whatever, maybe Malagusto not fully fit, Reece James on the Lavia plan again, I think to myself, what's going on? Why?
Yeah, I think Caicedo might be a little bit different because he's obviously in possession and out of possession, two very different roles that seems to kind of work and bring balance. But if you look at the spending of 1.2 billion or whatever it was in the end, and where this squad is and where this team is, and you think, wow, there's still so much to do and so many positions to improve, and the reliance to Palmer, which I guess is normal in a way because he's by far their best player, and it's normal that he's the star of this team and that a lot of things that is built around him. You just hope that he doesn't go through drought too often and too many times, but he's a young player. He will be better for what happened this season. I just don't know where you start, Gav. That's the thing, really. What's the key position, really, where they have to go and look into? Is it a number 9 to get somebody either better than Nico or similar level to have a bit of competition there for that place? Do you look defensively? Do you look as a goalkeeper? Because there must be one position that has to be the priority, because they might not be able to spend another 200 million or so they might just have to focus on one or two positions.
I think I agree with you. I think the tricky thing is they have so many guys that they've spent so much on. And I don't want to be boring and accountant-wise, but the amortization is still very, very high, right? So, and I'll quickly explain why this is relevant. If you spend, say, 80 million on a player and you give him an 8-year deal, then even if he's been there for 3 years, and let's say has been injured or hasn't worked out, for you to not lose money on him, you have to be able to shift him for 50 million, which is extremely difficult to do, even if the player's on a relatively low wage, as supposedly a lot of these Chelsea players are, because nobody's going to give you 50 million for a guy who's been injured or hasn't performed well at Chelsea, especially if, as is the case at Chelsea, you have so many players who are, good, promising, on the cusp, but kind of all on the same, on comparable levels. Like, is there really an enormous difference between Badiashile and Disasi and Chalobah?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, in Chalobah is a different case. You could sell him and it would be pure profit, and maybe they will. But I don't know. I don't know how you might go through it. You said, like, one big signing. My instinct would be your one big signing should probably be in midfield. And then maybe with Nico, you have to bring in another striker, but bring in a striker who's comparable to Nico, so that when Nico's not there and Nico inevitably will get injured, will get suspended or whatever, you have somebody else, and there isn't this big drop-off, and there isn't somebody else who plays a completely different style. And that's before we even get into the wingers, which the start it looked like they have a million wingers, and then all of a sudden you realize one of them is João Felix, who, by the way, will come back unless, and you're gonna pay Uncle George to take him away again. It's kind of like when your rubbish piles up in your front garden, and then you got to pay the removal men to take the stuff away. And Madueke, have we seen progress from Madueke?
I mean, yesterday there's some really good things, but just the pass that he doesn't give to Enzo in that first half and has that flat shot that goes just wide, but still it's such the wrong decision to make. I'm like, I don't know, he must be so, as a Chelsea fan, he must be so frustrated to watch Madueke, who I think has talent, but clearly still keeps making the wrong decision a lot.
And Madueke is probably their best winger.
I like Neto, and I think Neto, on the goal, does the right thing, even with his wrong foot. But yeah, I agree with you. They are not world-class wingers either.
Hey, I'm going to ask you this. All right, uncomfortable question, but it's okay because your team's in the Champions League semifinals. You can handle it. How many of these Chelsea players would get into Paris Saint-Germain starting 11 if it was coached by Luis Enrique?
That's a good question. I guess you could have a case for Caicedo.
In place of Fabian?
Yeah, maybe, or even of Joe Neves, because it's a similar
profile.
Yeah, profile and what you would ask him to do, to be fair. And I guess you could find a place for Cole Palmer somewhere. I think he would, in any team, there would be a place for Cole Palmer.
For double D, Desiree Doué? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But he would have to play a different way.
Close,
Obviously, you can't put Palmer as a right winger. But yeah, so that's probably the two. But really, they're your two best players this season, right? By far, yeah. And they will be your two probably most valuable players as well.
I mean, if Levi Colwill, I'm not a big Pacho guy.
No, but
but he's not had a good season.
No, but
that's a difficult thing, right?
But it can't just be on him if he didn't have a good season. Maybe it's just again the team around him as well, and
it just feels like there's been a lack of development. And you can blame Maresca all you like, but I think a lot of it has to do with the way these pieces fit together. It looks like somebody financialized the Chelsea squad and said, "Oh, they're all assets. They're all assets. You know, many of these guys are going to appreciate in value. Some will go down, but that's okay. And we'll come out ahead." And it wasn't put together with necessarily footballing. That's what I'm driving at.